call the meeting to order. This is the Twinsburg Board of Education regular meeting, which is Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014. Mr. Aho, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Stuver?
Here.
Mrs. Kane Griswold?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Felber?
Here.
Mrs. Terrell Waldron?
Here.
Now if I could ask everybody to please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good evening, and thanks to everybody for attending. I know it's cliche to say this, but wow, where did the summer go? School year began on the date of our last board meeting, and therefore we now have about 2 weeks of school under our belt. So on behalf of the board, we'd like to welcome everybody back, our staff and students, and we look forward to another successful year. As the school year ramps up, there are a few things that I would like to highlight of a strategic nature that are of interest to the board that we'll be following this year. Currently, the State House Rules and Reference Committee is hearing testimony regarding House Bill 597. This is legislation that's been introduced to repeal the state's previous adoption of the Common Core Standards. The Common Core Standards, which were adopted by Ohio's State Board of Education in 2010, establish clear expectations of what students should know and be able to do when completing each grade K through 12 in mathematics and English language arts. The three primary administrative school associations, the Ohio School Boards Association, BASA, and OASBO, all oppose this legislation that calls for the repeal of the previously approved Common Core Standards, and they are actively representing school boards and administrators via testimony at the State House during the last few weeks. These organizations provide some of the following information. The new standards focus on developing students' critical thinking, problem solving, and writing skills, real-world skills that students need to be successful in today's workforce. In addition, Ohio's new standards focus on deeper understanding of the materials and not just basic memorization or test-taking skills. House Bill 597 also calls for the repeal of the standards for science and social studies, which is interesting, as these standards are not Common Core standards, but rather are standards that were created and approved right here in Ohio independently of the Common Core. Last June, a separate piece of legislation, House Bill 487, was adopted and signed by the governor. House Bill 487 specifically directs the local boards of education will have complete control over their district's curriculum regardless of what standard the state adopts. The three administrative organizations have stated that the best understanding of what works in the classroom comes from the teachers who are in them. That's why these standards will establish what the students need to know, but will not dictate how the teachers should teach. Instead, the schools and teachers will decide how best to help students reach the standards just as they do now. It's also important to note that in addition to the three administrative organizations offering support for the core standards, the Ohio Education Association, which represents Ohio teachers, is also offering support to stay on track and implement the core standards. The OEA offered testimony opposing House Bill 597 just last week, and the OEA recognizes the challenges associated with these new standards and desires more time for implementation, quote, to get it right. Thus, in summary, all of the key education-related organizations are supporting the implementation of the Common Core. If Ohio withdrew from the Common Core, we would be returning to lower standards and expectations for our children, and it would seriously demoralize the education community, which has worked hard for 3 years to prepare for these standards. Another item of importance is the upcoming fall elections. Our House Representative Christina Rogner and State Senator Frank LaRose are both running for re-election. The governor's seat is also on the ballot for November 4th. And it's typical that following the general election, we'll begin to hear about some important topics that involve education. One particular topic of interest will be the state's biennial budget. We'll likely begin to hear about the direction that this new state budget will take following the election, and then for the first 6 months of the new year, it will be a highly energized topic. This Board of Education, past and present, has taken a conservative approach to managing the financial condition of this district and has done so with a long-term strategic view. The next wave of fiscal attacks may likely come next year during the debates over the state's biennial budget, when it is rumored that further reductions of the TPP tax reimbursement will be considered by the state government. This is the one issue that could have the most significant impact on our long-term fiscal health and is a topic that will have our attention. So in summary, the three items of interest are the debate over the implementation of the Common Core standards, the fall elections, and the state biennial budget, which will be issues to watch, and I encourage our community members to become familiar with these topics. Tonight, however, a special welcome to our staff, students, and families from Bissell Elementary and the R.B. Chamberlain Middle Schools. I know you're here tonight for some special recognitions, so without further delay, I would like to turn the meeting over to Mrs. Powers for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Stuver. Good evening, Board of Education, community members, students. Thank you for joining us this evening. Indeed, Mr. Stuver, it is a very interesting time in public education with a lot going on in Columbus. A day doesn't go by that we're not receiving some kind of communication from, and me particularly from BASA or OSBA regarding the initiatives coming from the State Department of Education and the Ohio legislature. So as you mentioned, it would be very prudent for our community members to stay on top of all of those changing issues, and we do the same here in the district in making sure that our educators have the most up-to-date information so that we can provide the best for our students here in the district. So thank you for summarizing all of that information. I don't have to do that now because you just did that. That's great. As Mr. Stuver indicated, we have students this evening from RBC Middle School as well as the Bissell Elementary, and lots of kids that are going to be here to introduce our community to a new initiative called PBIS. But we'll get to that in a moment. Board of Education, as you know, the last time we had a board meeting, I provided information to our community about a new grant that we were just awarded. I'm very excited. I have the press release that is supposed to be released tomorrow to the major news outlets in our state, but I'd like to read just a part of it. It says, WVIZ PBIS IdeaStream Education Special Program, the SMART Consortium, which means Science and Math Achievement Required for Tomorrow, has been awarded a $99,000 grant from the GAR Foundation to work with school teams to raise academic performance levels in science and math. The SMART Consortium is partnering with the Ohio STEM Learning Network, which is OSLN Akron Hub, the Nordonia Hills City School District, and the Twinsburg City School District. Also, as part of the grant, the Summit Education Initiative, known as SEI, will provide consultation. SMART Consortium staff will work with the OSLN Akron Hub, SEI, and both school districts to increase best practices in teaching science and math in grades 4 through 8. The grant funding will focus on preparing students for math and science proficiency for the new Ohio Learning Standards. The two school districts will collaborate and share resources, develop new strategies that contribute to student achievement, and collect artifacts of student performance through formative assessment. SMART Consortium professional development will focus on vertical alignment, working across multiple grade levels, math and science best practices, and project-based learning lessons. We are extremely excited about this opportunity. It is because of some former relationships I had with the SMART Consortium and IdeaStream, as well as a very collaborative relationship we have with the Nordonia Hills City School District, Dr. Joe Clark, and under his leadership, that we were invited by IdeaStream and the SMART Consortium to receive these grant dollars. What this will mean is that our educators will have authentic professional development regarding STEM initiatives, and that means amazing opportunities for our students to get the very best practices in their classroom as far as SMART Consortium can provide for us regarding science and math and those initiatives. So we are so excited. We worked this morning with our curriculum department, Mrs. Farthing and Mrs. Slattery, to put together our calendar, and we're working in collaboration with Nordonia Hills City School District to work with their calendar, and then pretty soon we will have some professional development opportunities for all teachers in grades 4 through 8, and then there will be an opportunity for the academic coaches from SMART, IdeaStream, and the STEM Akron Hub to be in our classrooms, teaching model lessons, observing teachers teach lessons, providing coaching, all about project-based learning. So this is a tremendous opportunity for our school district, and we're delighted that we were selected along with Nordonia Hills city school districts, and we can hardly wait to get started. So look for some exciting things happening at Dodge and RBC related to this STEM grant opportunity. Also, Board of Education, Mr. Welker was just informing me yesterday that the construction on the 2 computer labs is on schedule. Remember that we're doing renovation to the locker rooms at Dodge and the wood shop at THS in preparation for the park assessments, which are coming our way this school year. So we will look to have construction done by the 1st of October, and then the new computer labs and furniture will be installed, and the labs will be ready for the students at Dodge and the high school as we get underway in October, end of October, beginning of November for the park assessment. So that's exciting news too. Also, as in the past, board, you know that our district hosts a series of parent forums, and this year is just the same as always. I'm pleased to announce that the first of several is in the works, and it's going to be called Habits of Successful Families, Practical Tips for Parents with Children in Grades K through 12. And this is going to be a great evening for our parents to come together and learn some great information. Dr. Lisa Regal is going to be the facilitator for the event, and parents, you might know that name because last year Dr. Regal helped us with our Fluent Families initiative when we received the Ohio Department of Education's Early Learning Grants, the Reading Readiness Grant. She presented at our Fluent Families Parent Nights, and she's back again. We're just delighted that she's willing to come back and now talk to all of our parents in grades K through 12 about what it takes to raise successful students in the 21st century. So this parent forum is scheduled for Wednesday, September 10th at 7 o'clock p.m., and it will be held at the auditorium at the high school. So again, Wednesday, September 10th, 7 o'clock p.m. at the high school, and the name of this event is Habits of Successful Families, Practical Tips for Parents with Children in Grades K through 12. We hope all of our parents have an opportunity to come out and meet Dr. Regal and maybe learn some things that she has to offer for you that evening. And finally, Board of Education, you know that our quality profile is just about ready to be released. We had thought that the Alliance was going to release it on today, September 3rd. But thanks to the requests of some of the districts that were trying to put the final touches on it, and because we recognize that the local report card is now scheduled to be released at the latter part of September, the media release for the quality profile is rescheduled till September 15th. Ours is currently at the printer, so ours is ready to go. And our quality profile, which will be it's actually a companion document to the local district report card, and it provides our community with an expanded view of what it is to be inside the Twinsburg City School District and what kind of valuable programs and projects, activities, and such we offer our students. So it's a great look at inside the school district, and we're one of many districts across Ohio that will be publishing a quality profile. Again, there will be a media release on the 15th of September, at which point we will have ours posted on the website, and then families can expect to receive our quality profile as an insert in the Twinsburg Bulletin on or about September 18th. So look for that to be in your newspaper at middle of September, and we just think it's a great document, and we hope our community thinks likewise. So that's all I have for this evening. We have some wonderful students, and we have some awesome administrators here to present this evening. And pinch hitting for Mr. Reese at the middle school, I'd like to invite Mr. King forward, and we have some great students of the month to present to our Board of Education, and I think Mr. Felber is going to help with the pins. And this is the first time for Mr. Welker to help, so we're going to see how well Mr. Welker does. Yeah, right.
I'm going to stand up here.
All right, so students at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School who are students of the month receive this honor because they're being recognized for meeting all 6 of the criteria listed below. Each student has to meet all 6 criteria in all of their classes as the grade level teams decide upon 2 boys and 2 girls to be selected each month from each grade. And the criteria include the following. They have to show respect and consideration for others, show enthusiasm for academic and extracurricular activities, exhibit a positive influence on classmates, exhibit leadership characteristics, exhibit patriotism and democratic principles, and show responsibilities such as being punctual to class and completing all of their assignments on time. So the following students have been selected this month by their respective teaching teams at R.B. Chamberlain Middle School. And here this evening is Mr. Felber and Mr. King and Mr. Welker. So we're going to begin at our 7th grade students. Boys and girls, as your name is called, if you come up please and shake hands with these important gentlemen up here. And Mr. Welker is going to hand you a certificate, and if you could stay at the front so that all students can be up here, and your parents will want to take a nice photo opportunity to take a picture when we're done with each of the grade levels, okay? So our 7th grade, we are very proud of the following students. We have Alyssa Griss, Lucas Williams, Sydney Goldstein, and Darren Robinson. All right, and we'll go on to our 8th grade students. We have from 8th grade, Bailey Wild, Derek Burtis, Skylar Wade, and Shay Gerard. Let's give these wonderful RBC Chamberlain Middle School Students of the Month a round of applause. All right, guys, if you can hold your certificates up, because I know your parents want to take a nice photo of you for your scrapbook or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Okay, thank you very much, boys and girls. You may be seated. At this point, Mr. King would like to present some information about some building highlights at the middle school. Lots of things happening right now, and I'm so happy that you're here tonight to share that with everyone.
Thank you very much for inviting us to come. We have amazing students, as you guys know. They're your students. At Chamberlain, we do have a number of projects going on. Thankfully, our Welcome Center is completed. Some of you have stopped by and have seen it. Our Welcome Center is a little different than the others. We incorporated existing space. It flows as part of the building. We're very excited about it because when you use the Welcome Center, it looks like it has always been there. So we appreciate that. It allows the workspace of the office to flow and for our students to be safe. That being said, if you're going to be visiting Chamberlain, like for our veterans on Veterans Day and whatnot, please make sure that you try to come a little early if it's for a large event during the school day, because you will be using a lobby guard system, and we want to make sure that all of our students are absolutely safe by using that system. Also, if you haven't been to Chamberlain, maybe in the last year, the only way to enter into the building is through the Welcome Center. All the other doors are locked during the school day. So project number 1. Project number 2, not nearly as exciting. We're getting a new boiler. I know. Wow. Calm yourselves. Whew. But I will tell you this. When I mention that, Mr. Welker shakes a little. If you don't know, boilers are very, very expensive, and they are very, very necessary, especially in a building of our size. So we are appreciative of the work that Mr. Welker and Mrs. Powers have put into this project, and that the board is, again, it's not a projector. It's not the best movie. It's not a field trip. But without heat, without the necessary component of the boiler, education wouldn't happen. Also at RBC, a couple other quick things that are a little more student-friendly. With our academic coaches coming into line, our interventions have more than doubled. Instead of students just receiving one layer of intervention, we have added layers 2 and 3. So students at Chamberlain who may need some reading or math assistance can receive up to 2, even 3 periods of day of extra assistance to prepare them for not only Park, but also assist them in what they're learning in the classroom on a daily basis. So all of our students will have the opportunity to receive the enrichment necessary to have outstanding achievement this year. We have a great amount of students in the classrooms doing amazing work already. We're almost finished with our first round of map testing, which will give us the data we need to drive instruction. And also on the field, our sports teams are already doing amazing things. Cross country, many of our students have already broken their personal best records. And I believe we also have a boy and girl who've already broken the school records within their own teams. And very exciting, both of our football teams are 2-0, which I haven't been around here too long, but I don't ever remember that at Chamberlain. So we're very excited about what's going on physically with the building, in the classrooms, and on the field. So again, we're trying to prove to you that Chamberlain is really the place to be. Come over and see us soon.
Thank you. Middle school is always an exciting place, and you forgot to mention the new gym floor. The new gym floor, which is beautiful too, and I was there when they did the ribbon cutting. So exciting.
If you want to see some art, and you're thinking of floor, piece of art, but go and see the middle school gym floor. It was tied to the high school project, and literally the artist was in a cloud of paint. Tough to be able to see, but it turned out amazingly well. The tire is just beautifully hand done. The floor is amazing. We're very excited to get into basketball, so again, to invite the community. If you've been for a volleyball game, you've already seen it. Again, for what little price we pay, the impact is going to be amazing. It's going to keep students safer, finish, plus it also livens up not an old gym, but an older gym, and makes it look almost brand new. So we're very excited about that. Again, thanks to the leadership from the administration.
You can tell he's very excited about that floor.
I've already played on it a few times.
There you go. Board of Education, I'd like to, at this point, ask Mrs. Johnson, who is the principal at Samuel Bissell Elementary School, to provide some building highlights from her school tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. Good evening, Board of Education. Good evening, everyone. Real excited about getting started with the new year over at Samuel Bissell Elementary. Always tell our third graders they're the leaders of the building. So they have to show our second graders how to become leaders for the following year. So we have some wonderful third graders here today that's going to share with you some information about what happens at Samuel Bissell. At this time, if we could have Layla Tanner, Jack Phillips, and Maddie Hoffman come to the front.
Layla Tanner and I'm in Mrs. Angler's class. Jack Phillips and I'm in Mr. Doloriso's class. Maddie Hoffman and I'm in Mr. Labus's class. Did you know that Samuel Bissell Elementary School is really cool? Assemblies like Kozai and Officer Phil are more valuable than a $100 bill.
Did you know that Paws on Child Hunger gives students snacks in their backpack?
Laptops, iPads, and other technology keeps our brain buzzing like a bee.
Did you know that MobyMax helps us read and learn our math facts?
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. I can't wait to get back and get it all done. Go Bissell!
Mrs. Johnson, thank you so very much. You just need to walk inside Bissell to know that you're in a special place, and thank you for capturing that on the video tonight. Very nicely done. That concludes our remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Powers. This is a good time. Is there anything else this evening with the kids?
We do. We have our PBIS presentation
For
with
that.
Mrs. Traphagen,
Okay.
right.
All right, so let's move on then to committee reports. The first thing is Mr. Shebeck. I know you're here to give us an update from the CVCC.
Thank you, Board and Administration. I hope everyone had a great summer, and welcome back. I'm sure the parents are more excited than the students about school being back in session, but it is an exciting time of the year. And I want to take this moment real quick, ask the Board to mark their calendars. November 6th is the CVCC Combined Board Members Dinner at the Career Center. And Mr. Ferguson, I invite you to join us for an evening of some presentations and student highlights, and give you a little insight more into how the Career Center works. We'll remind you next month, so we got another month. But just want to throw that out there so you get on the calendar early. I think we believe we'll start at 5:30 that evening. And you'll be getting invitations in the mail for that. Secondly, I want to thank Mr. Stuver for your continued passion and your report tonight. After serving 12 years on this board, it still amazes me how the state is just continuing to try and dismantle public education. And just ask the parents that you really need to take notice and get involved of what's going on in Columbus, because it is disheartening. I haven't seen any upward tick in the 12 years I served on the board, and I don't see anything in the future, and I commend the board for their passion and their endurance to keep on top of these ever-changing landscape of the State House. But truly, parents, you are the voters, and you make the changes in Columbus, and you are the voice of the representatives down there. So in this day with social media and the advent of email and everything, do not be afraid to get on the horn and reach out to your legislators, because I don't understand what they're trying to do to public education. But they continually reach into our pockets and are taking our money and funneling into private endeavors and depriving the public education system of basically the funding they need. So with that, I'm off my soapbox. But you got me fired up today.
For a minute there, Steve, I thought you were still sitting up here. So.
You know, I can't let it go. And I truly, people just need to be aware of what's going on, but because it's going to cost you either way. So with that, on to some more positive things. We are back in session at the Career Center, and to start off this year, we did receive a very prestigious award back in July. Cuyahoga Valley Career Center was one of 21 schools selected in a nationwide high school that works Platinum Achievement School Award. 21 in the nation. So it's very prestigious. This award is based on success of local school leaders and teachers in improving school practices and raising student achievement. Our executive director, Joe Dannemiller, traveled to Nashville, Tennessee in July to accept the award from Dr. Gene Bottoms, Senior Vice President of the Southern Regional Education Board, SERB, and founder of the High Schools at Works program at the 28th Annual High School at Work Staff Development Conference. The award was presented before an audience of 5,000 educators from across the nation. So it was very prestigious, and we were very happy about that. Secondly, just to give you a little update on the enrollment for this year, we have 1,007 students enrolled at CVCC this year. That's up from 962 last year. 2.5% gain. And just a snapshot of Twinsburg, we have 74 juniors attending this year and 50 seniors. And then next, on Tuesday, August 12th, the Gordon Food Service held a food show directed towards cafeteria personnel in our local area at the CVCC. Approximately 150 people were in attendance, and there were 2 different presentations held in the conference room pertaining to new federal guidelines, that approximately 60 different vendors were on hand, sharing with the crowd new food products and what they can serve in their cafeterias. So this was a great event for the local area districts to attend, and great for the Career Center, because we do have a great culinary program and a kitchen over there, which if you come to the board dinner, you'll see. Next, just want to share with you a little update on our grant that we received from Ramtech that Mr. Curtis briefed you on a couple months back. We are in the process of preliminary discussions with an architect to add on to the building. We have to add about 3,500 square feet of space to house the equipment that will be provided by the grant money. We received a $1.5 million grant from Ramtech, and it is a grant that's focused on automation, manufacturing, in trying to enhance our abilities to educate students and adults as well in new technologies for manufacturing so we can provide a educated workforce in the state of Ohio. Now, unfortunately, the grant only provides $250,000 for facilities. So we think we're going to probably end up investing about $750,000 out of general fund money to support this effort, but it's roughly a third match for the $1.5 million in funds that we'll receive in equipment, education, and training. So what we're trying to do is set up a showcase, and now we're under the gun thanks to the good fortune of Cleveland, because they are rumoring that they want to showcase our Ramtech Center during the RNC convention in 2016. So yeah, we're trying to push this forward so we can get it up and running, because they're trying to schedule a bunch of events for that convention, which would be great because we can kind of showcase how Ohio works. And I know the governor's big initiative on educated workforce for Ohio, so that's kind of all playing together. So it's kind of preliminary, but that's our goal right now. Fortunately, we're going to be building onto the southeast side of the building, so basically just adding 3 walls and not really a whole lot of mechanicals. So we think it's doable, but we all know how the Welcome Centers went. So it's never, when you're adding onto a building, it's always a challenge. So we're trying to move a little quickly on this to get this ready to go, so we can be up and running. We'll be well within the grant deadline for spending our money, but now that we have that kind of stake in the ground, we're moving forward to that end. And then last, just want to share with the board that we were very fortunate this year. We belong to the Suburban Healthcare Consortium, 7 or 8 districts in our consortium. I think Nordonia's in there, along with the Career Center. And we had a very good year. So the consortium elected not to raise their rates this year. So we're going to be keeping our healthcare rates flat, which is kind of good because the real estate values kind of are going to give us a little bit of hit on our 5-year forecast. We are under the millage floor, so we benefit sometimes from 920, but we also sometimes are held to the economic downturn of House Bill 920. So we are not held flat, so we will see some downturn. I think they projected Twinsburg had a 2% decrease in property values, so that will affect our revenue stream. So that was very good news just from the financial side of things. So, and that's all I have this evening, unless Mr. Curtis, you have anything? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
for allowing us to report.
Mr. Shebeck and Mr. Curtis, I just want to let you know that Dr. Roebuck partnered with me in including on our quality profile some important information about the CVCC. So when Twinsburg's quality profile is published, there is some really nice information about the Career Center on it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because the career centers are they're on an island with all these new state mandates, I should say, that are coming down. So we're kind of left out there. We service the associate districts, so we partner with them and we try to build those relationships so we can actually showcase the good things that we're doing there in the home districts when they do their quality profile. So we appreciate that. That's great.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Still under committee reports, is there anything from my colleagues tonight for committees?
I would just mention that a couple of things. In item J2, you're going to see up for approval for the Board of World Cultures course of study. The Curriculum and Technology Committee was doing a little overtime prior to our regular meeting, which is the first meeting of the year of the school year. Is going to be September 8th at 6 p.m. Jen, I got it right this time. But it came to late attention right before the school year opened that there was going to need to be a change in the exploratory wheel, specifically Spanish. So the committee reviewed quite an extensive curriculum, very impressive, and all that committee does is recommend it to the board. So it wasn't approval, but it was recommended, and it was done by an email vote, and practically 96%, I believe, of those responding. The Curriculum Technology Committee is made up of parents and educators from the district. It's one of the The more jam-packed meetings, we get quite a big crowd, so if you're looking for something to do on September 8th, RBC Library, correct, at 6 p.m. But I just want to draw your attention to J2, because the board did receive what the Curriculum Technology Committee and my colleague, Ms. Davis, received as well.
Okay. Anything else? Committees? Mrs. Powers, I'll toss it back over to you. I know you've got a special little presentation here.
We do. Board of Education, as you know, one of the 5 goals for this year speaks to wellness. And we know that in order for children to be successful academically, they have to feel good about themselves and the environment in which they learn. So about a year ago, under the leadership of Mrs. Trapphagen, our Director of People Personnel, teachers and administrators began to put together a plan called something regarding PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. So to introduce to you and our community a little bit about our PBIS initiative for the year, I'd like to ask Mrs. Trapphagen to please come forward. I know she has some very special guests that are going to help with our presentation. Welcome, Mrs. Trapphagen.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education and Superintendent Powers. On behalf of our district leadership team and PBIS, our students here in the front row, their parents sitting behind them, and family members, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share our PBIS story with the board and the community. As Mrs. Powers said, one of our district goals is our wellness goals, and PBIS is a part of that wellness goal. And before I start, I want to give a special thank you to Alex Popovich, because he put our Prezi together for you tonight, so thank you very much, and he's going to head the clicker over there. At our convocation this past August, we kicked off PBIS district-wide, and at our PBIS convocation, we talked about PBIS as being a journey, and it doesn't matter if we've got a student coming into Bissell or Wilcox for the first time as a preschooler, or we've got somebody graduating at the high school. And when you drop your child off at school, you want them to be safe and you want them to have a positive experience. And that's what we want to do as educators in the Twinsburg City School Districts. We want to assure our parents and our community that when you drop your students off in our buildings, they're going to be safe and we're going to have a positive experience. And it doesn't stop, for those of you who are sending kids off to college, I mean, the same thing. I mean, I sent Logan off to college a couple weeks ago, and the same thing. I wanted him to be safe and have a positive experience there. So PBIS is a journey, and PBIS is not new. In 1997, it was part of the IDEA legislation, and it kind of came in back into play last April when it became a part of restraint and seclusion, because all districts have to have adopted PBIS as part of that initiative with restraint and seclusion to make sure that we are providing a safe climate and culture for our kids so that they can have a positive learning experience. And as I said, PBIS is not new, and some of our buildings, Wilcox and Dodge, have already done a little bit with PBIS, in fact, a lot with PBIS. And what we wanted to do, what we decided as a district, is we wanted to do this initiative district-wide so that we were providing the same services when our children walked into Wilcox until they graduated at Twinsburg High School. So we developed a district leadership team, and and from that leadership team, we developed building personnel to be on those teams, and we went to training at our SST in Cuyahoga Falls for 4 days last year. So what you're going to hear and see this evening is a reflection of what we are kicking off and what we learned last year. Why we're doing PBIS is, again, this is instilling in our children leadership, character building, being reinforced or for their positive behavior. And if this, in doing so, we're going to be providing a better learning climate for our kids, to learn. And so it's going to increase the positive culture within our school and our classrooms. PBIS is also linked to our teacher evaluation system. In order to receive the rating of an accomplished teacher, teachers have to provide a classroom where children are engaged, they feel safe, they reinforce their behaviors, and they are learning in a positive environment, and they feel safe in the classroom. As I mentioned, we have two different teams in the district. One is our district leadership team. From Wilcox, Lynn Villa is on our leadership team. From Bissell, Scott Winters, who's not able to be here tonight, has another obligation, but Misty Johnson is setting in for him. And at Dodge, Barb Wursler. At RBC, Michael King. And at THS is Alex Popovich. And these are our district leadership teams. And they have been very busy in their buildings working on initiatives as far as getting into the classrooms with our kids and providing, I know I just heard today that the high school is looking at bringing in a speaker to talk about bullying and taking pride in your school. So that kind of captures what PBIS is all about. It's being proud of your school, being safe in your school, and providing a learning environment where all students can learn. So I've said enough. You're going to hear it from what the students that matters. So at this time, I would like our Tiger to lead our students from each of our buildings. As we talked in our leadership teams, the district has taken on 3 initiatives as far as PBIS, and that's number 1, number 1, we want our students to be respectful. Number 2, we want our students to be responsible, and most importantly, we want our students to be safe. And what we did as a leadership team, we develop the Twinsburg PBIS story, and to share with you tonight are our students from all 5 schools, and they're going to talk to you about our PBIS story and what's happening as far as PBIS in each of their buildings.
My name is Zachary Anakin. At Wilcox Primary School, our students start out as Cubs. I'm Olivia Boykin. We fill our buckets for working as a team and being kind to each other. My name is Maddie Hoffman. Once they got their footing, they move on to Samuel Bissell Elementary School, where tigers learn to roar.
My name is Jack Phillips. At Samuel Bissell Elementary School, we can earn Golden Paw tickets and Random Act of Kindness stubs. Students and staff are also recognized by the Board of Education for their positive accomplishments.
My name is Grace Ziegler. When our tigers have found their voices, our students roar into George G. Dodge Intermediate School, where they earn their stripes.
My name is David Gibo. Students will earn their stripes throughout the school year, which will represent the 6 pillars of character during Cub activities. 6th graders will be mentors to our 4th and 5th graders to promote the guidelines of building to being responsible, being safe, and being respectful. Videos will be made by the students to be shown in the cafeteria during lunchtime.
My name is Gabrielle. Once the last stripe has been achieved, our tigers enter R.B. Chamberlain Middle School, where they learn how to take pride in their school community.
Hi, my name is Kirsten, Helping Holiday Hands and Emergency Assistance Center donations, Student and Athlete of the Month and Week, Student Support Groups, Social, Emotional, and Academic.
My name is Amber Wilson. Finally, our students who were once Cubs leave Twinsburg High School Tiger Strong.
I'm Nicole Ostrowski, and at THS we are implementing Strong Students of the Month, Strong Posters and Banners, a restructured pep club, and a new THS girls group.
Thank you, students. At this time, we would like everybody to join us along with our Tiger in our PBIS cheer. We'll say it once, and then everybody can join in after that. 1, 2, 3. Be safe, be respectful, and be responsible. Okay, we're going to say it one more time, and everybody can join in on the cheer with us. Be safe, be respectful, and be responsible. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and have a positive year. Thank you.
Board of Education, you know, as Ms. Trapphagen indicated, we had a couple schools that were underway with PBIS initiatives, just forward-thinking leadership. But when she came on board, she determined that this is something that would be a great idea pre-K through 12. We agreed. It was a year of planning last year, and voila, this is what we have. So we're excited about PBIS in our school district and really look forward to a very positive year with our students.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You did a great job.
Thank you. Okay. This is awesome. As always, having the kids involved in these meetings makes it all worthwhile. Reminds us why we're here.
One more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Olivia would like to give each one of you our... Oh, you already gave them? Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Trapphagen.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is remonstrance. As a reminder, the purpose of the regular meetings of the Board of Education is to conduct business. And because the Board of Education represents a school district, which is a public organization, these business meetings are required to be conducted in public. These regular business meetings are different from community forums or other special meetings, which are conducted with the specific intent to engage with or encourage interactive discussion with the community. To accommodate public participation as a part of the regular business meetings, an agenda item called remonstrance is included. The conduct for remonstrance is provided for in the Board of Education bylaws, specifically section 0169.1. Persons wishing to speak during remonstrance are asked to provide their name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Comment should be limited to 5 minutes. And while statements regarding matters of general district policy or procedures are appropriate, statements should not be personally directed nor abusive, nor should statements be made regarding specific disciplinary matters involving students or staff. To address concerns regarding students or staff performance, the Board of Education requests that you submit such concerns in writing to the superintendent. As is customary, we have blue cards out behind in the lobby. I do not have any. Mrs. Powers or Mr. Aho, do you have any blue cards tonight?
We do not.
Okay. So we will move on in the agenda then. Under item H, the treasurer's report. This one's simple. Mr. Aho, do you have anything for us tonight before we act on this?
Just the minutes.
Very good. Item H1, resolved that the Twinsburg Board of Education approves the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of August 20th, 2014, which was sent to the board under separate cover. Is there a motion for this agenda item, please?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Felber. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Any discussion on this item? Roll call, please.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane Criswell?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. That item passes 5-0. Next on the agenda, action items under personnel, which is item I. Without objection, I will read these three as consent agenda. Item I-1, resolved that the Board of Education accepts the certificated licensed personnel and or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit I-1 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Item I-2, that the Board of Education accepts the classified personnel and or contract recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit I-2 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. And item I-3, that the Board of Education accepts the supplemental contracts recommendations detailed in the attached exhibit I-3 as per the dates, terms, and other applicable conditions specified pending satisfactory ORC background checks. Is there a motion for these three agenda items, please? Moved by Ms. Kane Criswell. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any discussion on these items? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kane Criswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron,
Yes.
Mr. Stuver,
Yes. And those three agenda items pass 5-0. We'll now move to the new business action items under Agenda Item J. There are 5 that we will act on together, consent agenda without objection. Item J1, resolve that the Board of Education approves an Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County Inter-District Service Area contract for the 2014-2015 school year. This contract provides for the following services: 1 curriculum supervisor for 217 days and 1 special ed consultant for 120 days, as sent to the board under separate cover. This is a general fund expense. Item J2, that the Board of Education approves the World Cultures course of study for 7th and 8th grade. This course will be a World Cultures exploratory course and will replace exploratory Spanish in the exploratory wheel. The adoption was approved by the District Curriculum and Technology Committee on August 18, 2014, and was sent to the board under separate cover. Item J3, that the Board of Education approves the settlement agreement, release and waiver for special education services for 1 student provided at Monarch Center for Autism for the 2014-2015 school year in the amount not to exceed $45,000. This is a general fund expense sent to the board under separate cover. Item J4, that the Board of Education approves the attached listing of items to be deleted from inventory as per Exhibit J4. And item J5, that the Board of Education approves the sale of 9 school buses determined to be beyond their useful life, which sold through the online auction Bus Movers and More of Euclid, Ohio, in the net amount of $33,127.64, and the bus numbers are listed in the agenda. Is there a motion for these 5 agenda items, please?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Kane-Criswell. Discussion.
Just one additional item for J2. While the exploratory Spanish wheel has been replaced by the World Cultures course, that word is tripping all of us up today, Spanish one is still being offered in as a full year course for the 8th graders.
I'm glad you clarified that. Thank you. I don't have anything else.
On J5, did you get your question in?
Yes, this money, thank you for that. The $33,000 for the 9 school buses, the sale, Mr. Aho did confirm that that money goes back into the PI funds.
Yeah, because that's where the money came from, so
Right.
it goes back there.
Right. Very good. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Kane-Criswell,
Yes.
Mr. Felber,
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron,
Yes.
Mr. Stuver,
Yes. And those 5 agenda items pass 5-0. Lastly, under this new business are items J6 and 7. I will read together in consent agenda. Item J6, that the Board of Education approves the change orders from Ohio Paving of Willoughby, Ohio for paving at Wilcox Primary School and R.B. Chamberlain Middle School at a cost not to exceed $5,070. Change order number 2 addresses striping and additional asphalt that was needed for the Wilcox project, and change order number 3 provides an additional underdrain for the R.B. Chamberlain product. This expense will be paid for with permanent improvement funds. Item J7, that the Board of Education approves an agreement with Roth Brothers of Youngstown, Ohio, in the amount of $17,455.91 for preventative maintenance on roofing system components at Twinsburg High School, R.B. Chamberlain Middle School, Dodge Intermediate, Bissell Elementary, and Wilcox Elementary, and the administrative building. This expense will be paid for from the permanent improvement funds. Is there a motion for these 2 agenda items, please?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Davis. A second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Turl Waldron. Mr. Welker, if you could just give us a little overview about these projects that are going on here.
Sure. So the 2 change orders were just to expand the useful life of the 2 projects. We wound up addressing some subgrade issues at Wilcox that allowed for a better paving project. Also, the striping at Wilcox, which allowed for to facilitate our arrival and dismissal process, as well as group play for our playgrounds. So those were the primary motivations for doing the change orders at Wilcox and for Chamberlain, which we installed a new under drain for Chamberlain to address some poor subgrade issues that we had that a drain would address. And then the second item, the preventive maintenance roofing contract. This is a preventive maintenance contract that we've had for a number of years, just to try to keep up with the roofs as much as we can, so that we don't have huge bills later down the road. So just addressing some of those smaller items that we need to do.
Very good. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane Criswell?
Yes.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes. And those two items pass 5-0. We're now down to miscellaneous. I do not have anything for my colleagues tonight. Mrs. Powers, do you have something?
Just some information for the board and our community. Mrs. Wursler and her administrators have been working very hard, along with Mr. Welker's assistants, to try to resolve the pickup issue at the end of the school day. When we changed the direction because of the Welcome Center opening, what we have now is many parents wanting to meet their children at the end of the day, and the Welcome Center is so small. So at the end of this week, Mrs. Wursler is going to be sending notice to her parents, and there will also be a Blackboard Connect call that beginning September 15th, she's going to be adopting a pickup procedure similar to the one that we just adopted at Wilcox Primary School, where parents will have designated tags for each child, and they will drive up and we'll have staff outside to radio into the building, connecting the parent with the right student. We are going to ask our parents to please make sure that you sign up for a pickup tag or tags, up to 2 per child. Return that information to Mrs. Wursler next week, and then starting the 11th of September, parents can begin to pick up their pickup tags through the Welcome Center, through Mrs. Filipski helping in the Welcome Center area. So we think this may address some of the situations with parents having to wait overly long for kids to be released at the end of the school day, and really, again, trying to enhance our security procedures at Dodge. So, Ms. Wursler, thank you for your leadership on that. Mr. Welker, thank you for your leadership. Kind of stole the idea from Wilcox. It's working well there. Thank you, Mrs. Davis, for getting us in that direction at the end of last year. And so we think this one's going to work. So parents, just look for information to be coming home end of this week with a Blackboard Connect call by Mrs. Wursler.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from my colleagues? Okay, we do have need for an executive session tonight. I will make the motion that the Board of Education enters into executive session at 8:04 p.m. to discuss with the board's legal counsel disputes involving the board that are subject of pending court action as per Board of Education Policy 0166D, and for the consideration of employment of public employees as per Board of Education Policy 0166A, and to consider the purchase of property as per Board of Education Policy 0166C. Is there a second for this motion?
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Under discussion, I will just make note that there will be no action taken after this executive session. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Stuver?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Felber?
Yes.
Mrs. Turl Waldron?
Yes.
Mrs. Kane Criswell?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 5-0. The board will now move to executive session. Thank you to everybody who attended.